Good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric Foster, co-founder of the Future Today and Tomorrow Super PAC. Wanted to give you my brief update on the bill, the Senate reconciliation version of House Bill number one, House Resolution one, which is the bill that's titled by other people a BBB bill. I title it the FOA bill, Fuck Over America Act of 2025, that is slated to keep the MAGA Trump tax cuts, but also sets up a path for bankrupting people in terms of healthcare coverage, in terms of student loan borrowers, and with respect to other individuals who may be in need of particular services and support. So, there's a couple of things that I wanted to highlight in the bill because in the FOA Act of 2025, there's some lies that the MAGA side has said with respect to this bill that they're very good at lying on, but the pro democracy side has been bad at telling the truth on. So I'm going to share my screen because I want to show a couple of things. One is from the Penn Wharton School of Business, where they actually teach business. I don't think Donald Trump, when he went there, went to a class. I really don't think the man can read, but that's another video topic. That being said, they did a very good analysis of the bill that passed today. And I want to show you a couple of things because of some of the lies that are said by the MAGA fascist members in Congress and their leader, Donald Trump. So let me share my screen and give me a second. Okay. So the first thing that I want to focus on is the particular provision here with regards to no tax on tips. So I'm highlighting this because even though this says that there is no tax on tips, the problem with this, because it's a lie, is that it's a temporary deduction on qualified tip income for 3 years, and that the deduction is capped at $25,000. So the reality is that this is not a no tax on tips. This is a tax deduction very similar to your standard itemized deduction that you get as a filer who's filing single or a person who's filing married separated, married jointly, head of household, those basic deductions, the things that are always there, like getting up in the morning and breathing the air. If you get up and you breathe, you know you're alive. Well, those things that are always there. Well, this is going to be a 3 year piece for people. So I hate to say don't get it twisted, but don't get it twisted. This is not a no tax on tips. This is a temporary credit on your taxes up to a certain amount of money. So if your tips go beyond that, then you do start paying taxes on the tips above $25,000 in terms of tip income. Then the no tax on overtime. So let's talk about the no tax on overtime because that's another lie by the MAGA side. So in their regime, during the first Trump regime, during President Obama's time in, I believe it was 2014, 2014 or 2015, they increased the eligible income that a person could make and be eligible to get paid overtime. And actually, that helped somebody like me who was a frontline supervisor at Dialogue Direct during that time period, where with what I was making, but I was also working overtime hours. When the change went up, I believe they took it up to $42,000 a year of income versus the low 20,000 range that it was before. I was making mid 30s, but with overtime and my overtime hours, that bumped up what I was eligible to make. So that helped me income wise. For somebody that was middle income, that was good as a single man at that particular time. Well, the first Trump regime and now the second Trump regime have taken that back to the previous standard. So the amount of money you make, if you're somebody who makes north of $26,000, you're not going to be eligible for overtime pay, except if you are in an hourly situation. So if you're in a salary situation, you're not going to be eligible. And I was in a salary situation. There's a lot of people that are in salary positions who were getting and were eligible to get that sort of pay, but now they're not. And so doing this in terms of this no tax on overtime, when you've taken the income eligible for people who are salaried back down to the low $20,000 plus range, the majority of people who are salaried who might fit that 30,000, 35,000, 40,000, 45,000 a year income person won't be eligible for any of this deduction. But once again, this is a temporary deduction. It's not a permanent deduction. No tax on overtime is a lie. It's another standard deduction. It's a bonus deduction based on the amount of eligible overtime pay. Now, if you're hourly, it can help. But if you're a salary person working white collar, like I have been my whole life, and you're in a position like that, where when President Biden became president, he took it back to the level, and I think a little bit higher, with regards to the amount of income that the salary person can make and be eligible for overtime pay. Well, in this instance, this particular situation, you're not going to be. And so this temporary amount is eligible to receive a deduction of for overtime up to $12,500. So you can get that amount where you can use as a deduction to take off of your tax, your liability. Excuse me for jumbling up my words a little bit, but when you do your taxes, your deductions give you an ability to reduce the income that qualifies to be taxed. $12,500 is the cap, but it's a 3 year situation, just 3 years. So a small amount of money, 3 years. It's talked about as no tax on overtime, but that's a lie. You still will get taxed on overtime. You'll just get possibly, if you're making a low enough salary income or you're hourly, you'll get the ability to have a deduction of $12,500 or $25,000 if you're married. And then it goes down from there as your income goes up in terms of your gross overall income. So once again, if you're an hourly person and you're working for GM or Chrysler or a company such as that, and you're making a lot of money with your hourly pay, your labor contract, and overtime, well, you're going to get a possible benefit, but depending on if you meet or hit a certain income level, you're going to get a very small amount in terms of that 12,500 might be 2,000. And if you're over 150,000, which can happen when you are working in manufacturing and one of the bigger companies, well, you're shit out of luck. SOL. The last one is this deduction on seniors. Now, what the Trump regime and the Republicans in the House and Senate, the MAGA Republicans, and a couple of regular Republicans that are left, have tended to say is that this is going to eliminate taxes for senior citizens. So they're not going to be taxed on Social Security income or retirement income. That, as Maury Povich would say, is a lie if we were doing the lie detector test because it's another deduction. It's a $6,000 deduction per individual, and it phases out at 6% of annual gross income for $75,000 if you're single or married, filing separate, or you're separated or divorced, etc., or 150,000 if you're filing jointly. So it reduces the closer it gets to that dollar amount. And once you exceed that dollar amount, you're SOL. Now, where is that in the bill? So let's go to the actual bill that passed the Senate today. So on page 222 of the 887 page bill, section 7, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so y'all can see it. Section 70103, termination of deduction for personal exemption other than temporary deduction. Now, actually, here's a question. I know it's a bonus, but it kind of, the wording makes it seem interesting in terms of its application. It doesn't impact other standard deductions or personal deductions that you'd be able to take if you are a senior citizen. Does it eliminate some for you to get this 6,000, or would you be better off with some of the basic ones that you would get, which might be higher? But this is a temporary situation as well. So starting January 2026, if you are starting on page 222, in the case of taxable year beginning before January 1st, 2029, there shall be allowed a deduction in an amount equal to $6,000 for each qualified individual with respect to the taxpayer. And then qualified individual is a taxpayer who has reached the age of 65 or is a joint filer, the spouse has reached the age of 65. And then there are limitations in terms of income for annual gross, well, adjusted gross income, which is the AGI that you saw in the Penn Wharton analysis. But ultimately, this is not going to eliminate taxes on Social Security, retirement income, and the like. If you're a senior citizen and you're middle income and you're close to that 75,000 or you're above that 75,000, you're still going to pay taxes. You may get this for part and reduce some of your liability, but you're still going to have tax liability. In a nutshell, you're still going to have to pay taxes. So to recap, three key provisions: no tax on tips, that's a lie. You still will have a tax on tips if the amount is north of $25,000. No tax on overtime. Well, most people who would have got overtime during the Biden and Obama administrations are not going to be able to get that because of the rollback in the qualified income threshold to be eligible to get overtime pay. And for those who do, if their salary, and this is on the salary side, so let me go back. On the salary side, they rolled back the amount of salary you can make and be eligible, which under President Obama and President Biden was a higher amount in the $40,000 plus range. And now back under the Trump regime, it's in the low $20,000 plus range. If you're hourly, you'll still be able to take advantage of this, but it's a temporary partial deduction of up to $12,500 in income, and it de-escalates in terms of the amount of money, so it goes down. This is three-card Monte, y'all. This is don't watch the cup, watch my hands. Don't watch the cup, watch my hands. Don't watch my hands, watch the cup. It is a scam, y'all. So that the tips and the seniors, three lies that have been told to people about this are just that, tax lies. This bill provides a little bit of relief, but not a lot. You can make more money and end up knocking yourself out of the little bit of benefit that can be there. And it's only temporary for 3 years. The tax cuts for the big folks, those are permanent. In a sense, they're stealing money from you to give money to them. That's reverse Robin Hood shit. Now, I don't know if y'all are cool with reverse Robin Hood. I'm not really a fan of reverse Robin Hood. That's kind of like reverse Flash versus Flash. You know, I'm a Flash guy. Cool, good, like the red suit. Reverse Flash, the yellow suit, trying to do everything the opposite, bad guy. Really my cup of tea. Reverse Robin Hood on taxes and income benefits going to folks that already got it and stealing it from you, that ain't cool. So that's a quick education that I wanted to give you all on three key lies that are being told by the MAGA fascist side when it comes to taxes and tax cuts for working class folks or for senior citizens. They're temporary. You might make too much money and not get any of it, and it doesn't eliminate all of your tax liability anyway. So you still will be paying taxes. So I'm gonna stop sharing. It's important for us to get truth out there. It's important for us to be clear about what's happening and make sure that people see these real facts. So I'll keep trying to pump stuff out to help people understand. They trying to bamboozle us, y'all. And unless you want to get three-card money or with the cup thing, I forgot the name of it. I think it's three-card money, whatever it is, unless you want to get scammed, you need to know. Information is critical. Don't let people play in your face. Thank you. Everybody have a blessed evening, and I'll see you in the next video.